Good evening, NorCal Carters. This is Jason, and tonight we have Andy Seesemann with
Oh, first mistake, Seesemann. There you go. I
Seisman.
got you.
Ah,
Yep,
that's
Seesemann.
why Sean was saying it that way.
Yeah, that's correct.
Seisman. Okay, Andy Seisman. I was going to ask you that during our
Perfect.
notes too.
Oh, that's all right. It's super simple. It's an old German name that all the E's, or at least the first couple, should have the little umlauts over the top, the little double dots, which
Yeah.
makes it, which gives it that long yeah sound. The only time I've ever met somebody for the first time and they pronounced my last name correctly, I was checking into a hotel in Austria, and the desk clerk said, "Mr. Sesemann, how are you today?" And but otherwise, for sure, it's been Sesemann my whole life, and I spent most of the time correcting people Sesemann, but yeah, it's pronounced Sesemann.
So phonetically, Sayzman.
Yeah, Sayzman. Rob Howden always remembered it by calling me the Say Hey Kid,
Oh,
Sesemann.
yeah. Say hey. Okay.
That's right.
All right. So I got my only error out of the way.
Perfect.
The next one will come up in about 5 seconds.
Yeah, that's all right.
So, give me a little bit of background. You currently operate Full Throttle Karting down in SoCal. And
Correct.
how long have you been operating the kart shop for?
Oh, I went into business for myself in late 2002.
Okay.
So, do you want the whole history?
Yeah, let's go.
So, I first stepped onto a kart track probably 1977. My former stepdad was into racing, and he took me to a kart track in Illinois, called River Valley Kart Club in Gilbert's, Illinois, and asked if I wanted to get involved. And I wouldn't say I was a shy kid. Maybe I was not the most aggressive kid. So I was happier sitting in the stands eating a great popsicle instead of getting in the seat. So we did that a couple years, and moved around a lot. And fast forward to 1983 or 1982, we lived in Houston, Texas at the time, and we went out to a track that's still in business, Katy, Texas, Gulf Coast Carters.
Oh, yeah.
Where a friend of mine, customer Dave Pergandy, still races to this day. And we went out there. I think I was 12 years old, and he said, "It's probably going to be the last time I ever ask you if you want to do this. Do you want to do this?" And I said, "Heck yes, let's do this." So that started the journey. We lived there for I probably raced there about a year and a half. We found a dirt track as well, and it was a magical time between the asphalt track racing twice a month on Sundays, and the dirt track south of Alvin racing every Saturday night during the summer. I mean, there were months where I raced 6 times a month.
Six
Pretty
times
awesome.
a month.
Yeah, because we raced
Wow.
every Saturday night under the lights on the dirt, and then every other Sunday through the summer months. A lot of the clubs in certain areas race. If you're in a sort of, I wouldn't call Houston remote, but back then it was the only club for 100 miles, couple hundred miles. So you just race twice a month. From say April to October.
Okay.
Basically every other Sunday. So did that for a couple of years, and then moved back to Illinois, where I was from, and went back to that track in Gilbert's, Illinois, and raced 4 cycles there for about 6 months, and then moved out to California in '85 to live with my dad, who basically had zero interest in karting. So fast forward now 10, 11 years, it's 1996. I had literally been married a week. We went back to Chicago to visit my mom and stepdad at the time, and we pulled one of the old go-karts out from the basement, and threw some 2-stroke fuel in there, and somehow that Comet K55 lit up, and I ran it down the street a couple times, and 2 weeks later I bought a kart again. Surprised my wife and told her, look what I bought us as a wedding present.
It's such a romantic.
Yeah, I am very, very romantic. And man, that's what started this whole journey, right? So that was, like I said, in '96. and raced a bunch and started helping people on the weekends, and eventually started traveling with a family called the Carmody family that were very well known back in the late 90s. And then eventually went to work for Pitts, which was owned by their uncle. I ran basically the business side of it because that's where my experience was in running businesses. And then fall of 02, went into business for myself, and fast forward now, 2020.
Yeah. 18 years. It went by in a flash, or it took way too long?
It does. I mean, it was a crazy time. I mean, the first couple of years we had our son. We bought our first house, our only house I'm still sitting in right now, and started a business within, about an 18-month time period. So it was a crazy time. Early 30s, and life gets going.
Yeah, a lot of life changes in a short span there.
For sure. I mean, that's part of it. I mean, that's not to be cliche, but it's the American dream. You kind of get into your 30s and married and kids and houses and jobs, and you think, okay, what the heck do I really want to do with my life, right?
Yeah. Now, from the kart
shop
standpoint,
started Full Throttle Karting.
Yeah, so that's Full Throttle Karting. What's the website for Full Throttle? FullThrottleKartingShop.com. It's really, at this point, and we'll get into this a little bit. It started out, it was my kart shop. That's all I did. And then, the promotion side, and then, as we get talking about the distribution side. So at this point, the kart shop is really the least part of what I do. It certainly keeps me relevant locally with the clubs and whatnot. It's a place to have an office. It's I have a showroom. I have 2,500 square feet with 6 carts on display, ready to go. If somebody wants to walk in and buy something, it's there. We have all our parts and everything. I have a side yard with my trailer. So, like I said, the kart shop is really the least of what I do on a daily basis, even though that's my office and that's where I go every day. Okay.
But if I were to separate it all, if I had to find a place to store my trailer, and if I had a place to have an office somewhere, and to put all the tires and parts I distribute now, and have a place to answer the phone, if I separated all that, I'd probably spend more than I do just having a brick and mortar shop on a very busy street, right? So
yeah,
it works on all levels for what I do.
Now, what chassis brands do you keep in stock down there?
So number one is, Burrell. I've been a Burrell dealer since the day I went into business for myself.
Okay.
Fall of 02, like a lot of businesses, like everything in Silicon Valley, I started right in my garage here. And, Tony Kart had just lost their importer. It's right when JM Racing and Tony Kart had their disassociation. CRG was very, very prevalent with SSC Racing in Southern California, but there were far, far too many CRG dealers. I mean, I think there were 6 in Southern California alone. I mean, you remember those days when Joe Ramos had a dealer on every corner.
Yeah, exactly.
And Burrell was pretty limited. It had one dealer here. It had Dave's Performance back then. So, I mean, obviously, there's a lot of chassis brands nowadays, but if you go back in time in the history of karting, and if anybody remembers 3 brands on the planet, it's always going to be Tony Kart, CRG, or Burrell. I mean, those are the big 3 that we all know, we all talk about. And if I was going to go into business for myself, I didn't want to be the Lone Ranger on an unknown brand. So Burrell became the brand just because it was the smartest play that I could make at the time. And I've been a Burrell dealer ever since.
So
I've picked up other lines along
as
the
a
way.
Burrell dealer. Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a long relationship. I mean, back from MRP being the importer to now PSL, and been to the factory now 8 or 10 times. Ronnie Saul and I go way back. Certainly when I go to Italy for the Rock International Final, I try to get to the factory and have lunch with him if I can. It's a long time relationship, and loyalty is something you don't really see much in this business. And I've been loyal to him, and he's been loyal to me. And while I don't sell as many chassis by any means that I used to, when the kart shop was my sole focus, certainly
I repay the loyalty he's given me by staying with his brand. And then last year, I also picked up the GFC line. Gary Carlton's been a legend in American karting for sure. I mean, even to the point where he, as you well know, I mean, you're very tight with Gary, living in Italy at the factory. He's living there for several years. I mean, and when Gary decided to start his own brand, he needed a Southern California dealer, and I was first to step up and say, for sure, I'll carry a product, because he's a solid guy. He has a great reputation. He's super passionate about the business, and I'm happy to represent him. So,
yeah,
so Burrell
that's true,
and GFC,
and he's a NorCal karter.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the GFC is showing extremely well in your series. I think he had 10 guys under his tent at Cal Speed.
Yes, he's doing a very good job. I mean, like I said, he's very passionate about what he does, and he's building himself a team and a good business, and the product is showing well. And you get paid, you get repaid with hard work, and everybody in this business works hard for sure. But Gary right now is busting it hard, and you see it in the results.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, it's very, very neat. So you got the Brill, you got the GFC. Is there any other lines you carry right now, or that's it?
That's the chassis brands. I carried Aero for a while when the Euro went really crazy, and the Italian chassis were starting to get priced a little bit too high, and the Aussie currency was at a great spot, almost an all-time low. So we had a great currency advantage. So I carried Aero, and we sold a lot of Aeros for a couple of years because of that. And then, as the currency kind of rebounded and went back, everybody's always going to recognize, once again, those three names, right? Burrell, CRG, Tony Kart, and I was a Burrell dealer. So then as the currency kind of rebounded, the Burrell came back into favor, simply because it's a more well-known brand, and it was priced, back at a normal spot. So
yeah, it makes sense.
But otherwise, I mean, that's chassis brands, Burrell and GFC. That's what I carry.
That's what you carry. And then the main reason we have you on tonight is to talk about the Rock Cup USA stuff. And you are the West Coast promoter for Rock Cup USA with your Challenge of the Americas series.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Rock Sonoma is also another West Coast promoter, but I would say, I was the first one to forge that relationship. Back at the end of the Rotax days and beginning of 2017, really about right around now, maybe a couple weeks from now, but then go back 3 years. So I was certainly the first one to look around and look at what was going to be next, what had the best potential, what was going to grow. And obviously we pulled the trigger on that, and then a little bit later in the year, Rock Sonoma decided to follow and do the same thing. And between my program and theirs, I think we have a very good foundation in the West, and that's now built to a couple other areas. I mean, you have the Rockies, which is a program in Colorado, and now Utah Motorsports Campus is just refired up, and they're going to be a rock program. So there's other programs that are now going to start to get to build roots in the West.
Yeah, it's very exciting right now. It's you and I have been around for a while, so we've seen the different iterations of this is going to save karting. But it's always neat to be kind of on the front of the wave, and just the excitement people have. And again, we've seen it multiple times, but the rock, it's nice. It's a nice change. Nice. Yeah, I guess just a nice change. Let's rewind a little bit. Let's go back to as a race promoter. And I don't really want to do a comparison between the Vortex Rock or the Rotax, but for those of the racers that are newer to the sport that don't know who you are, share a couple of things you learned while being a Rotax promoter, because you had the Challenge of Americas with the Rotax platform for many years. It was very successful as a winter program on the West Coast. What did you learn from promoting those events?
Well, actually, we can go back even further than that. I ran what's called the Gators Karting Cup before I did the Challenge of the Americas, which was Southern California regional program in the summertime.